Okay, so I want to start off by talking about the lineage of this modality. Transcendental brain training is an amalgamated modality. I often call it an energetic technology. There are four key components to it. The largest one, I would say, the strongest, biggest, most underpinning one is yoga. Yoga, I am a student and teacher of yoga, which I'm gonna stay away from using too much Sanskrit so that I want to keep this as jargon free as possible. But yoga is union to yoke. To yoke is to unite, is to union. That's what yoga is. And what is it that we're unifying? Well, when we unify our body mind complex with infinite awareness, the empty full, this is when we have self realization. And this is the ultimate goal of yoga. Now, within yoga, there are many different, you can call them paths, right? Jnana is the people call it Jnana the yoga of knowledge and wisdom, and that's where the direct pointings come in, right? This is Jnana yoga. Jnana yoga is around the question: Who are you? Who are you really? Who are you really? And this element of coming back to the core, deepest identity. This comes from Jnana, and this is a big aspect of this approach, this modality. Then Bhakti. Bhakti is devotion to the divine. It is that worship. Most people think of, when they think of Bhakti, they think of Kirtan. That's one way. Or mantra, which is like mind training. Both of these aspects will show up in the practices here because they are ways to free up stuck energy, right? So we're all of these practices that are provided in the Transcendental Brain Training. We call it the Solution Center, These practices are ways to, when we integrate the psychology and the physiology, and we weave in the awareness of spirit, right? This is how our soul incubates more fully. I'm already going into energetics, right? I want to stay with just clear transmission of content right now. So then karma yoga. Karma is the action. It's aligned action. And when people who are karma yogis, the path of service, selfless service, seva is the term for selfless service, and it'll fall under karma. So these are different aspects. And what most people are familiar with, the yogis have often heard the term Hatha. Hatha yoga is, well, people can think about it as the postures that are Hatha yoga, but really, again, the postures is just kind of the surface way in which we're purifying. We put the body into shapes so that we can find the stillness and the steadiness that exists beyond the shapes. And so is the yang energy. So is the yin energy, the sun and moon energetics. And this is the polarity aspect of, we're balancing the polarities, the masculine, feminine, which, you maybe recall from our witnessing exploration. We've got the energetics of the masculine and the feminine here. So that's ha. And so yoga as a recognition of who we truly are, and the ways in which we come to an embodied remembering and a realization of that. That's one of the core influencers of this modality. And another one is embodied energetics. Embodied energetics is where soul arts and the soul field, we weave together this recognition that our deepest soul callings, yearnings, they're not separate, right? This is the enacting the law of correspondence, right? As above, so below. The macro mirrors the micro. And in embodied energetics, where we're working with the various layers and levels. I don't like to use the word levels. Layers is more appropriate. Layers of our energy field, right? Which is multidimensional. We're multidimensional beings, right? This is held throughout every aspect, every one of these four modalities that are core to the transcendental brain training approach, that have fed into the approach, has that in that they all share that same recognition that we are multidimensional beings, and we can call upon and I use these words interchangeably, our deeper wisdom, our higher wisdom, or or I sometimes say our wisest self. And because regardless of whether we're talking about the depths, right? Because there's this recognition, like the deeper the roots go of a tree, the higher the branches can go. So the language doesn't matter if we're talking about our heights or our depths. It's two sides of the same coin. You don't really have one without the other. So embodied energetics, one of our core approaches is embodied alchemy, that comes from that school of thought. And then we have multiple brain integration techniques, which also uses an infinity loop. The multiple brain integration techniques, it teaches us how to make wiser decisions, calling upon wiser decisions, weaving the intelligence from our heart brain to our head brain, back to our heart brain, and then to our gut brain, and then back to our heart brain again. The purpose of it is to create more coherence, right? It's another form of coherence, coaching. And what else can I say about multiple brain integration techniques? Yeah, most people, they think that we have one brain because we live in a very head brain dominant society. But a brain in reality is a complex, adaptive neural network. And we have three. We have the head, we have the heart, we have the gut. And they need to be operating in sync with each other. They need to be in alignment with each other in order for us to have the most coherent energy field, in order for us to make the wisest decisions possible. And then we come to inner parenting. Inner parenting is the modality that I co-created with my former co-director at the Intrinsic Brilliance Institute back in my IBI days. This is the modality we developed that can accelerate or quantum leap, the inner child healing process, by recognizing that the maturity of the parent is what guides the inner child healing. So this inner parenting process is a unique way in which we can be with our wounded parts, let's say, our emotionally stunted parts, right? Because here's the thing. Unlike physical maturation, right? Unlike our bodies, when we have enough food and water, we just grow. Right? This is what it's like for our bodies. But emotionally, our maturation needs to be facilitated by a competent guide, caretaker, caregiver. And a lot of us didn't have that when we were younger. A lot of us, that wasn't available to us. If we grew up in homes with emotionally stunted parents, then that's the reality that we have. But all is not lost, because we can call upon these higher forces, wiser beings that are there, in this approach in inner parenting, where we're using the energetics of the divine mother, the divine father, and we're weaving that in with the science of what is actually skillful parenting, right? There are 4 different distinct parenting styles, and 3 of them have been shown to stunt maturation. 3 of them are linked to stunting maturation, while only 1 is linked to facilitating emotional maturation. So we teach this style of parenting, the way in which to dialogue with these younger parts of ourselves. So these 4 modalities come together to help create this transcendental brain training toolkit. I want to name the people that I've studied with. I mentioned Deb's name, who was a big catalyst in creating inner parenting. multiple brain integration techniques. That is Marvin Oka and Graham. So last two, I don't always say his surname properly. Yeah, they wrote this beautiful book called How to Use Your Multiple Brains to Do Cool Stuff. And then Embodied Energetics, that's Melissa Sandin from Soul Leader, and yoga. Who can I ascribe yoga to? Two of my certifications came from, one's from Tanya Caps at One Yoga, and the other's from Tina Nance at HELD, which is an acronym for Heart-Centered Embodied Listening as Dharma, HELD School of the Self-Integration. That's who I studied with, but yoga is from way back when. Of course, all the specifics of this is in the manual in the practitioner program that we have coming up in March. I just don't store dates and such in my brain that much. So there's more details in the practitioner program. Starts March 17th. Any questions? Pop them in the comments. So this is, I have to acknowledge the lineage, right? Like this is where this energetic technology came from, fueled from each of these. And I will call upon each of these modalities in the process. There's two key things that we do in Transcendental Brain Training. One is unwind the body mind, and the other is to reference, to attune to the guided side. So you can recognize how, again, we're back to the spiritual saturation, the guide inside. Unwind the body mind is the aspect of our evolving self. And within both of those, we have two different modules, and we will do one where we resource and then back to the other. So this is how we go back and forth. I think that's it for this video. Feel welcome to ask any questions you might have in the comments. Sending you so much love and gratitude for your presence. It means the world to me that you're here. And I would be honored, truly deeply honored, if it felt true for you to like and share, subscribe. Thank you so much.